Add some sakuga to your day and soften your heart with today's sponsor, CookUnity, the first chef-to-you meal delivery service, made up of over 70 chefs who believe that great food should be for everyone. Unlike other meal delivery services, CookUnity's meals come from a revolving panel of award-winning chefs delivered right to your door. The holiday season is my busiest time of the year, so CookUnity makes it easy for me to reclaim my time by having meals ready to go in my fridge. Their expert chefs craft a variety of meals tailored to over 7 dietary preferences, from vegan and paleo to gluten-free options. In my latest delivery, I had the pleasure of enjoying the Mission-style beef burrito from Chef Jose Garces. The taste of the burrito shocked me. It was like eating something straight out of a restaurant, which actually isn't surprising considering Chef Jose Garces is an Iron Chef and a James Beard Award winner. You'll get 50% off your first order when you use the code BABISH50. Simply apply the code at checkout or on cookunity.com/babish50 or click the link in the description to get this discount. Hello there, welcome back to another episode of Anything with Alvin. This time we're going to be making giant pork cutlet bowls from Japan. The theme of this show is to make food that I'm excited about based on videos that I've personally watched. And one of the videos that I've watched many times late at night is called The Most Giant Pork Cutlet Bowl in Japan by Sugo Uma Japan. I don't know about you, but that sounds pretty good. How about starting with the pork? I have here essentially the prime rib equivalent of a pork chop. This is where the pork chops are cut from. We just asked them not to cut it at the store. We're going to start with this large roast, give it a nice bed of seasoning with some salt and pepper all over, and then put it on a wire rack and put it in an oven at a low temperature of 225 degrees Fahrenheit until the middle reads about 135 or so. Now in the video, the Tokyo shop seems to cook their pork ahead of time, probably in a sous vide or in an oven a similar way. That way when they fry it, all they have to do is cook the outside and just serve it. While that's going, let's work on the breadcrumbs. Now the breadcrumbs they use in the video seems to be panko breadcrumbs, but not the dried ones you find at the store. These seem to be fresh panko, or a nama panko. In order to make those, I think our best bet is to start with some fresh Japanese shokupan. It's somewhere between sandwich bread and milk bread, not super fluffy but also not super dry. Tastes good just by itself. My first thought was to use a box grater to get these large beautiful shards that you can see in the video, creating a nice crusty texture. But this didn't seem to be working out so good, so how about tearing it by hand? And then realizing that maybe tearing it would take probably a little bit too long, how about we just throw it into the food processor and give it a couple of pulses. We're gonna take these, stack up a whole stack of them, and cut off the crust so we can only get the nice insides for that white color. And this technique I feel is definitely a lot better. Just throw it in, make sure to pulse it every now and then, but not process it too finely to the point where it actually becomes tiny crumbs, and then it should be ready to use. Hey, pretty neat. Now that the breadcrumbs are done, we do have a lot of leftover crust, so how about we make something fun with it? I'm gonna go ahead and cube these up into tiny bits. Oh look, we found some ham. Okay, we're gonna also cut the ham into these small little squares as well, and just toast these in a pan to get some nice color and texture on these things. Toss that around until the bread and ham start to get a little bit of color, and it's a little dry, so I'm gonna throw in a couple pats of butter to help add some flavor and color to this. Kind of thinking a breakfast situation, so that definitely involves some eggs and some cheese. For seasoning, I found some onion powder and some white pepper, so let's just give a couple of dashes of those in. And this is looking pretty good. Could probably eat this right now, but kind of want to make something a little bit more cohesive. Found a half-used block of cheddar cheese from another shoot, so we're going to take this and also cube it up into small bits. Throw that in and toss this around until the cheeses slightly begin to melt. Then I'm dumping in the equivalent of around 6 eggs. Kind of going for a frittata thick omelet situation, studded with little bits of crusty ham and toasted bread. I also found some thyme, which goes well with I think everything in this pan. So we're going to drip off a couple of leaves, sprinkle that on top, and let that perfume the mixture in the pan. We're going to go ahead and let the edges set, put a plate right on top, and then give this a little flip. Yep, it's a little messy. Also the spices that I put in definitely burned a little bit on the bottom, but that's okay. We can make this work. Gonna cook the other side for another 3 minutes or so until this thing is pretty much cooked through. Want to make sure the inside is still tender. And let's transfer this out back onto the board. Since the name of the game is to do this on the fly, I also found some okonomi sauce and some kewpie mayo laying in the back. And this kind of reminded me of a large okonomiyaki, even though it definitely is not. So we're gonna brush some of the okonomi sauce right on top and give it a little zigzag drizzle of kewpie mayo. And I present to you a leftover that started with bread crust and now has ended with an omelet okonomiyaki. That is definitely not the accurate version of either. But does it taste good? Let's give it a slice and let's see. Now this is pretty good. It tastes like if you put okonomiyaki sauce and seasonings on top of an omelet, which is exactly what I did. I think we did that really well. So let's cut this up and bring it upstairs to everybody else that's working hard. Let's get back to the actual recipe. First, to make a rice bowl, we do need to make some nice rice. Today, we're using some premium short grain koshihikari rice from Japan. Put some rice in a rice cooker. Make sure to wash this a couple times in the sink to get rid of all that excess starch. Add just enough water so that it is one section of your pinky above the rice. And then press the cook button. Nice. Now, moving on to the sauce part of this recipe. In the video, they seem to be pouring over a nice little thin, dark colored sauce, which I'm assuming is somewhere between a soy glaze and a tonkatsu sauce. So in a medium saucepan over medium heat, we're going to add 1/3 cup of sake and 1/3 cup of mirin, cooking the alcohol off just for about 30 seconds when it's simmering. Then we're going to add in 1/2 cup of soy sauce, 3 tablespoons of Worcestershire, and about 1/2 cup of water. Then we're going to combine 1/2 teaspoon of instant dashi mix with 1/4 cup of water to make a quick faux dashi, and that's going to get mixed in as well. After tasting it, I decided it needed a little more sugar, so in total we're having 6 tablespoons of sugar in this sauce. And then I decided, hey, this would probably taste better with a slight bit more sake, so that's what I did. But after that, I think our sauce is ready. Then we're going to get our breading station ready. For our liquid station, we're going to whisk together 2 eggs and then slowly whisk in a couple of bits of water to make this thinner. And then I'm going to whisk in 1/2 cup of all-purpose flour and heavily whisk this until there are no lumps remaining. So now our breading station is ready. Our pork has now been in the oven for about over an hour or so, and it looks pretty good to me. We're going to cut off an edge slice because that bit is a little bit more overcooked than the rest, and we also want cleaner, thicker slices for our actual rice bowl. I'm cutting these really thick, probably about 2 inches in width, which is very large for a normal tonkatsu, because usually they're approximately a 1/2 inch thick. So I can understand why everybody loves this video on YouTube. After our double cut pork chops are sliced up quite nicely, they're going to get a nice bit of batter in this egg mixture we made, pressed into the panko. And then this is going to go into oil at 350 degrees for about 30 seconds or so, very quickly, just until the outside has browned, because we don't want to cook the inside any more than it needs to be. It's already at its nice medium well doneness. We're going to fry both of these cutlets, repeating the breading and the battering process. And then we're going to also repeat this with that little edge slice that we made just to make sandwiches with the remaining milk bread later. Once the pork is ready, we're going to put this on a tray lined with a rack to rest and drain any excess oil. Then we're going to cut into our pork. We're going to take this giant cutlet and cut this into about 1/2 inch slices all the way through with a very satisfying crunch sound. Now this I can get behind. This is beautiful. Now that it's time to assemble, we have to fill our bowl with a helping of fluffy, cooked, steamy white rice. Now the egg from the video seems to be a very quick cooked egg. So in a small pan, I'm heating 2 tablespoons of butter and whisking and cracking in about 4 eggs. This is cooked on a very high heat because once it hits the pan, I'm constantly moving the edges towards the center to allow any of the liquid raw egg to move back towards the edge and cook, creating this almost ripple pattern of cooked and barely cooked egg. The finished egg slides directly on top of the rice, perfectly covering it and creating a nice little sheet above our bowl. Then we're going to rearrange these gargantuan slices of tonkatsu right on top of the egg. Now that looks pretty good. And to finish, we're going to pour over a generous helping of our sauce, making sure to soak bits of the tonkatsu and also making sure that it hits our friends below. And I present to you our homemade version of the most giant pork cutlet bowl in Japan, according to the video. I've seen a lot of restaurants start to do this in Tokyo, so I'm really curious to see if it's worth it, given that the fact that the meat is a lot larger compared to how it usually is served in tonkatsu. And I can see Steve waiting behind the camera eagerly, so I'm going to allow him to taste this first. To be fair, Steve pretty much almost likes anything we make here, but he seems to really like this one, which is a great sign. Next up is Rachel. She's been helping source all of these ingredients and helping with these recipes and always is a hero in the kitchen, so she deserves to taste this before me as well. Yep, I think she likes it too. Alright, my turn. I definitely see the appeal of eating this. The crispy pork goes really well with the rice, which goes really well with the egg, which goes really well with the sauce. Everything sort of ties together in a harmonious bite. Let's just say between the 3 of us, not a single drop of food was wasted that day. Everything either went into our bellies or into a takeout container for Steve to take home. Thanks again to CookUnity for sponsoring this episode. CookUnity is the meal delivery service that gives customers a direct line to some of the best chefs in the country. The best part? Their flexible subscription. You're in control. Pause, skip weeks, or cancel anytime, ensuring the service aligns with the dynamics of your needs. To top it off, CookUnity is offering a special promotion for BCU viewers, an exclusive 50% off your first order when you use the code BABISH50. Simply apply the code at checkout on cookunity.com/babish50 or click the link in the description to get this discount.